Oh, silly. Oh, sweet boy. I think it was like date juice or something like that, or maybe it was, no, it was prune juice with a little bit of melted butter in it, and that actually did work. Wow, Sagey, sleepy, sleepy, sleepy. Okay, so my phone died. I charged it a little bit while I had some lunch, and I'm going to try to wrap up this video, but basically, hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Esperanza. I am a full-time content creator. I am also a first-time mom, a new mom to Sage Wilder here. He just fell asleep. I actually wanted to show you guys a little glimpse of him because I have been wearing him in my baby carrier the past few videos and haven't really gotten to show his face because all you really see is the back of his head, but he has fallen asleep. So here's a little peek at my little guy. He is 6 weeks old. He turned 6 weeks old yesterday. So I am a month and a half postpartum from a C-section, which is what I was going to be talking to you guys about in this video. I wanted to share basically just my essentials for a C-section as far as at the hospital, right after, and then also when you get home. So he is getting a little bit heavy, so I'm gonna go ahead and put him in his carrier and get into the C-section essentials. So really quickly, I'll try to show you guys a little better glimpse of his face before I switch him into the carrier. Oh, he is so sleepy. He has grown so much. It's crazy. Huh, buddy? Oh. I also wanted to mention for those of you who haven't been following along that I am also a single mom. I am currently living with my parents in Phoenix, Arizona. So if you want to know a little bit more about that situation, I will link a video for you guys explaining. So I wanted to start off talking with things that I think are essential right away, right after you have a C-section at the hospital. So my C-section was a little past midnight. Obviously it was kind of like an emergency situation, not ideal, not what I was wanting for my birth story. I was wanting to be able to have a vaginal birth, so it was definitely a kind of a surprise and a shock to end up having a C-section, and for me it was a little bit traumatic. I know some people actually opt to have a C-section, or it's necessary for them to have a C-section and they know that heading to the hospital. So regardless of which scenario you might be in and you're watching this video wanting to get some helpful tips, I just wanted to give you guys the background on why I had to have a C-section. So I did not get back to my room until 4 in the morning the next day, and then at 8 in the morning, Seiji had to go to the NICU due to low blood sugar. So for me, the next day was very difficult. I was very out of it from the epidural that had been given to me before we knew that we were having the C-section. I actually had to have the epidural twice. I had to have these shots to stop contractions twice. And then of course, all of the extra anesthesia that they put me in. Basically, I was given extra anesthesia because my first epidural had gotten dislodged. So they tried to give me some anesthesia to help with the pain, and then gave me a second epidural. That is when his heart went under for like the 5th time, I think it was. So we had to head into C-section after that. And then going into having the C-section, I was given even more anesthesia, which is necessary for that operation. So basically the next day I was so out of it. And I knew that I was in pain, but I almost wasn't really feeling the pain so much because the pain medications were still wearing off. But I did realize that it was really hard for me to get up out of bed, to lift myself up or anything like that, basically from the surgery, which is a major abdominal surgery. So probably it wasn't until, and the nurses come in and give you medication every certain amount of hours to basically try to keep the pain at bay, but it is definitely so painful because it was a struggle for me to be able to get in and out of bed, and I actually had to go down to the NICU every 3 hours because I was trying to breastfeed Sage. So I had to kind of get out of bed every 3 hours. I couldn't walk or anything, so I had to be taken down to the NICU in a wheelchair, and every time I had to get out of bed, it was a struggle. I would have to like grab onto like the edges of the bed because it has like a frame, and lift myself up like strategically. So like I was saying, the nurses come in and give you pain medication to manage your pain, so you're not so much needing to worry about that, but there are other symptoms, other things that you may want to make yourself feel more comfortable. So the first thing I would say is a stomach band. The hospital actually provided one for me, but it wasn't as good as the one that my friend had actually given me. So basically it's a belly band or like a support band, and using it actually helps all of like your organs and everything kind of shift back to where they're supposed to be. And not only that, you can also use it to put an ice pack right above your scar area, which is very swollen, and you could even use like a heat pack for your back. My back was hurting a lot because I'd had to have 2 epidurals and some other anesthesia inserted into the tubes there. So I had a lot of lower back pain, and a heat pad definitely helped with that. So I would try to start using that right away. As far as ice packs, usually the hospital can provide them for you. I don't know about if they provide heat packs, but I had brought some with me, and I kept using the belly band and the ice pack and heat pack even when I got home. But I would recommend doing that immediately just to help with the pain that you are going to be feeling, which is obviously much worse right after surgery. So a few other things that I think are worth bringing and would make your experience in recovery right after surgery more comfortable would be Freedom Mom disposable briefs. I actually had some in my Freedom Mom labor and delivery kit. I ended up not using a lot of the stuff in that since I did not end up having a vaginal birth, but those were definitely helpful. And my friend had actually given me like a pack with extra ones as well. So those were amazing. They do provide some to you at the hospital, but they're not as great of quality as the ones from Freedom Mom, and there are probably other ones on the market out there as well, but I would recommend those. They're super comfy and also high-waisted, which you definitely need because of the scar. You don't want anything like rubbing the scar. Also, the Freedom Mom disposable pads, which I mentioned were in the labor and delivery kit. But they also provide pads to you at the hospital, or you can find other ones as well. But those 2 things you're definitely going to need for all of the blood loss that is happening down there. That kit also came with a peri bottle, which is also very helpful. I ended up having, basically Sage's head was engaged there, so he was like just about to be ready to come out, but my pelvis wasn't opening up fast enough due to being induced and not going into labor naturally. So I basically had symptoms of having a having a vaginal birth and having a C-section. So that was pretty rough. It was very hard to be able to go pee afterwards because I actually had to have a catheter, I think it's called. So basically I wasn't getting up and going to the bathroom. I had like a bag and tubes collecting my pee. So that was for several days. I was in labor for 3 days before the C-section. So it was extremely difficult for me to be able to go pee after giving birth. And I think that's also the case for vaginal births regardless. So a peri bottle, it actually helps because you don't have to wipe down there if you've had a vaginal birth, but it also helps you to be able to go pee if you're having trouble going pee, which is pretty common after giving birth. So if you just squirt like some water down there, it can really help with basically it's like the sensation of it or something helps you go pee. Sounds weird, but trust me, it does work. If you already know that you're having a C-section, Freedom Mom also has a C-section delivery kit specifically for C-sections. They also give you a peri bottle at the hospital, but it's not as great. So that's something I would recommend. So whether you have had a vaginal birth or whether you have had a C-section, if you've had an epidural and any other of the kind of drugs that they give you to induce labor or anything like that, it makes it so that it is very hard for you to go poop afterwards. So it can sometimes take several days before you're able to go poop. I think basically we were there for an entire week, 3 days of labor, and then C-section recovery and Sage being in the NICU. So we were there for a week, and I don't think I went to the bathroom until day 3 after having had my C-section, where I was finally able to go number 2. So obviously that is very, very uncomfortable. You can take stuff like Miralax to help with that. My nurses actually brought me, I think it was like date juice or something like that, or maybe it was prune juice with a little bit of melted butter in it, and that actually did work. But I would also recommend maybe bringing something that you're comfortable with to help you go number 2, something like Fleet suppositories if you need immediate relief, because it is very, very uncomfortable waiting around to be able to go number 2. For me, it was actually extremely painful because, as I had mentioned, Sage's head was engaged there, and the pressure of his head, because it was actually tilted down, it was in the wrong direction. So his little face was like scraping up all of the nerves in my lower back and in my rectum, anus, whatever area. So I was in a lot of pain in both places down there. And so that made it extremely painful having to go pee or having to go number 2 finally for the first time. So anything that can help with that, I would recommend. So along with that, I would recommend something like Tux medicated cooling pads. The Freedom Mom kits have something for like your vaginal area, but I also like to use the Tux medicated cooling pads for my bum area. So I would recommend bringing those as well, although they may provide them to you at the hospital, but you're gonna kind of want them when you get home anyway. So several of these things are also for when you get home. So I'm gonna be moving on to that topic, but a few things that kind of go with both being at the hospital after a C-section and when you get home would be to wear high-waisted briefs and loose clothing. So I actually had a hospital labor and delivery kit that had like sweatpants, like little high-waisted joggers, a nursing top, and also a nightgown. So that was easy for nursing in because it snapped. And it also came with a robe. So I had that kit from Seraphine, which is like a maternity clothing brand. So that was what I was wearing for my outfits at the hospital. And all of that is loose clothing, which they definitely recommend for a C-section recovery because you don't want any kind of tight clothing that's going to be like rubbing against that scar area. That can get easily irritated, and obviously that is a problem. So loose clothing and also high-waisted briefs. I'm 6 weeks postpartum and I was trying to wear regular low briefs earlier this week, and that was a big no-no. Like, it was rubbing and chafing my scar area, so I immediately went back to high-waisted briefs. So as I mentioned, it is very painful sitting up in bed, getting in and out of bed when you are recovering from a C-section at the hospital. It gets even worse the more days that you get past the actual surgery, because all of the anesthesia and pain medication has worn off. And even though they're keeping you medicated, you just really start to feel the pain a lot more as the days go by. But then when I got home, I actually didn't have a bassinet because I wasn't expecting to need a bassinet. I have a crib back here, but it was so painful for me getting in and out of the bed and hunching over to like scoop him out of this crib for those first several weeks when you're just in so much pain from your surgery. So luckily my friend was super sweet, and she actually ordered me a bassinet that I could use as a bedside bassinet, and that made it so much easier. So I would definitely recommend a bassinet. They have some affordable options on Amazon that just makes your C-section recovery, especially at home, so much more convenient. So I really recommend that, especially for nighttime feeds. I've been breastfeeding, and those first few nights with a newborn are insane. Sage was feeding like non-stop that whole time, so it's a lot of getting them in and out of the bassinet. So anything that makes that a little bit easier. Something else that really helped me with my postpartum recovery from a C-section is this progesterone cream that my friend also sent me. She kind of sent me like a box with a bunch of things that I would need for breastfeeding, for baby, and all that kind of stuff. So that progesterone cream she had recommended because it really helped her with her baby blues, which she had pretty bad. And I actually ended up having pretty bad baby blues myself. The first night where they had taken Sage away to the NICU was really bad. So this is hard because I don't want to scare people who are planning on having a C-section, but as I had mentioned, I was not planning on having a C-section. This was a shock to me, and honestly, having a C-section was something that I was scared of my entire life. Giving birth in general was something I was afraid of, and of course I had been broken up with halfway through my pregnancy, so the trauma from the C-section and all of that was so overwhelming. Like, I just immediately felt depressed, the postpartum depression, baby blues, whatever you want to call it, basically the first night. And I was like just traumatized, thinking like that I didn't think I could go through all of this again. So just being honest. So that was really hard pretty much every night that I was at the hospital. And obviously the first few nights with the newborn, once you've left the hospital, are just very hard adjusting to, especially if you're a first-time mom, and especially if you are a single mom doing this on your own. Or maybe not, but at least for me it was just overwhelming, knowing that I was doing everything by myself, knowing that I didn't have a partner, like the father of my baby, there for like support, there to help with nighttime feeds, diaper changes, that kind of a thing. And just like the loss of that for me personally made my baby blues so much worse. I would literally just sit in my glider nursing him and just be crying. Okay, so my phone died. I charged it a little bit while I had some lunch, and I'm going to try to wrap up this video. So basically, progesterone is what is in your body when you're pregnant. So when you're postpartum, that hormone plummets, and that can really affect your baby blues, postpartum depression. So the progesterone cream, which is all like naturally sourced progesterone, just helps kind of supplement that so that your symptoms aren't as bad. So I put it here on my wrists and then rub it into my elbows as well. Okay, so moving on to the next topic, which is kind of just like healthy habits, things that you can do for your health postpartum. So while you're recovering at the hospital, they really recommend for you to go walking. I think that they recommended like 3 laps around the postpartum recovery wing or something like that. It is a struggle, of course, because you've just had like major abdominal surgery, but just trying to walk like a little bit each day, a little more really helps. And in general, walking is kind of like the only physical exercise that you are allowed to do after having had a C-section. I think once Sage was like maybe a week old, a week and a half, I finally started feeling up to going on daily walks again. I had walked 3 miles a day during my pregnancy. So getting back into doing like a 30-minute walk with him in my bassinet stroller was good for him to get some fresh air, good for me to get some fresh air because you can get kind of stir crazy stuck at home, and just a good physical exercise to do. I think I was able to lose some weight doing that, like maybe 3 to 5 pounds just going on walks daily, which I've now been doing every day for about 5 weeks. Another very important thing is to continue taking your prenatal or be taking a postnatal to just make sure that you're getting everything that you need, especially when you're recovering from a C-section or vaginal birth. And I think it also helps with like hair loss, preventing hair loss, which I actually haven't really had a problem with. And it's very important for breastfeeding as well, to make sure that you're getting all of the vitamins and nutrients that you need. Drinking a ton of water is very important as well, especially if you're breastfeeding. You need a lot of water because most of what breast milk is made of is water. Drinking more water is just going to help you feel good, especially when you're in pain. It's good for your bones, good for your body in general. You're also just very like depleted and sleep deprived, and water is just going to really help make you feel better. And I even like to drink my water with electrolytes so that I can make sure that I'm getting rehydrated. The electrolytes help with that, because even if you're drinking like a ton of water, you may not necessarily be able to absorb that water, and the electrolytes help you do that. I try to drink 2 to 3 of these a day. Not always easy to do, not always like a goal that I accomplish, but at least adding the electrolytes helps me to feel like peace of mind that I am rehydrating myself and adding those important minerals back into my body. Lastly, I recommend that you just try to eat healthy for energy and for recovery after a C-section. Especially if you're breastfeeding, you are going to want to be eating 500 more calories than before you were breastfeeding. And also when you're breastfeeding, your recovery can be a little bit slower because your body is focusing all of its energy on making milk, on milk production to feed your baby. So that takes a ton of energy. So your recovery from your C-section, your scar recovery and all that can be a little bit slower due to that. So I actually just had my last appointment with my OBGYN a few days ago, and my scar has been looking great at every appointment, but it is a little bit on the irritated side. It can be kind of like hard sleeping at night as well, just like rolling over onto your sides and all of that, or if you're like a stomach sleeper, that kind of a thing. The area above the scar can be hurting, or the scar itself can be hurting, so that is a little bit hard. It gets better every week that you're past postpartum. So right now I'm feeling obviously a lot less pain than the week before that, and the week before that, and the week before that. So now at this point, I don't have like a ton of pain when I'm sleeping at night like before, or getting in and out of bed, that kind of thing. But unfortunately for me, the area above my scar, I actually had a lot of nerve damage in that area, and it has been swollen this whole time. So basically, I was told that the swelling and the nerves repairing themselves and that kind of thing can take up to 6 months. Obviously, I'm only a month and a half in, so I have a little ways to go before that area is going to be looking and feeling normal again. And the scar itself is actually low, so it's kind of like in my pubic hair area. So I haven't been shaving it because I knew that that would be bad for it. I asked my OBGYN when I'd be able to shave that area again, and she said for me to wait 2 more weeks since it was still looking kind of irritated. So that would be basically 8.5 weeks postpartum. So just depends on where your scar ends up being or what your pubic hair situation is like. I am a very hairy girl, so unfortunately for me, it was right there in that area. And I was told that I can finally start putting something on the scar to kind of help with scar fading, something with vitamin E. I'm going to be trying the Earth Mama C-section scar balm that they have like specifically for that. So I had been told not to put anything on it at all for the entire 6 weeks. I had seen online that some people were recommending scar creams for C-section recovery. So I think some people just kind of like ignore their doctors and put something on there anyway. I kind of wish I had, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to say because my scar was definitely like a little bit irritated. So that could have either made it better or it could have made it worse. I don't know. And I also was given the clear to go ahead and start running again. So I went jogging with Sage yesterday for the first time. A little bit rough, but we're gonna get back into it. And I started doing stretching again and some kind of like Pilates exercises for my core. Obviously, it is completely normal to take a little bit to be able to get back to pre-pregnancy weight, and I know it's not like the most important thing, so I'm trying not to focus on it too much, but being able to get back into exercising, moving my body, stretching is just making me feel so much better. My body has felt like so tense, and it just feels really good to be moving my body again like I was before my postpartum recovery and working my way back to my pre-pregnancy weight. I think it's just a good goal to have, but like I said, not the most important thing, so don't worry about it or focus on it too much, which is what I'm trying to do as well. Okay guys, so I am so sorry if I rambled too much in this video. I hope I got all of my points out there in ways that made sense, and I am sorry if I ended up going on tangents. Sometimes that's kind of just what I end up doing. I also just kind of like to share my personal experience, so hopefully you guys appreciated my honesty, and hopefully these tips and my recommendations for C-section recovery essentials were helpful for you. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you are not subscribed, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, and also be sure to share with a friend or someone that you think would enjoy my content as well. As I mentioned, I am a single mom, so just waking up a little bit. So any help that I can get, I just appreciate so much. Also be sure to follow along with me on all socials at The Urban Darling, and check out my blog, theurbandarling.com, for more content. I am hoping that one of my next videos is going to be a thrifting video, because I know that you guys love my thrifting content, and it's been a while since I've been able to do that, since I've mainly just been at home with Sage. So I think that would be a fun video to do. So hopefully one of my next few videos will be a thrifting video, so check back for that. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!